right, everyone. Welcome back to another great episode of Bass Cast Radio. I am your host, Brian Carter. And as always, my co-host, Hank the Bass Geek. What is up, brother? Welcome back. We were just discussing before it came on, guys. Hank's been enjoying some really nice weather down there where he's at. And he's only about 3 hours, 3.5 hours away from me. So it's kind of
so surprising that it's not been up your way the past few days.
Not yet. I know this weekend we're supposed to see some warm weather, but really looking forward to that. Guys, last weekend here at the basscast.com was an adulting weekend. We just got caught up from Tennessee. I mean, there you guys go.
Yeah.
They had 4 loads of laundry instead of 2, and yeah, it was pretty, but we had a great time. Another great show as always.
Show. Good time.
I know Geek was busy about every single time I went over there to see him. I just had to shake his hand, and I apologized to his fans and keep on walking. So
Knox Vegas is my town, man. They treat me right out there. So
that's his backyard, man.
It is. It's it's just a couple hours down 81 and on the 40, and then voila, you're there. So, but yeah, man, same here though, dude. I mean, we've been trying to get caught up. When we left, because we did the Raleigh show like the week before that. Of course, I still work full time. I work 12-hour swing shifts. So we come right back and jump into 4 night shifts. We literally had one video when we went to Knoxville. So we had to come back, find a day, get out on the water. I think we went out, and it generally takes about 2 hours to film just a simple how-to video.
Right.
So it takes about 2 hours to film. We pumped out 4 of those. We spent, so we spent 8 hours on the water that day just filming, not even fishing, just talking about fishing a whole lot. And, that's where I've been again today. I had to work pretty much. We had one day to get videos done. We got them done. And then we went from there right back to work, 4 more 12-hour shifts. And then, then we jump out today and we film 3 more videos.
Heck yeah.
So
more great
trying
content.
To get ahead.
More great content coming from Bass Geek. And like we always say here, make sure you guys always hit the follow button and the like button and the notification button, any other daggone button. Excuse me. So yeah, I guys, if you guys didn't keep up with me, I did the Raleigh, Richmond, because that's my home territory.
Yep.
And then came on down there and hung out with Geek. And we had a great time. I mean, excuse me, Friday was beautiful down there. I mean, it was. Friday was amazing, and it was beautiful, and we had a great time. And Saturday, it was extremely wet. I mean, it poured. Go ahead, Geek. It poured buckets down there.
It did. Listen, I don't Saturday, which is the busiest day, and I mean, normally we do a live, which we didn't go down Thursday, which is unusual for me. So we got down Friday. Most of the time we'll do it on either the Thursday or the Friday because they're the slowest. But Friday was packed. And then Saturday, there was no way. Like most of the live stream, if I was walking around, would have just been me standing in aisles waiting to get around people because it was packed. Yeah, I say it all the time, guys. If you don't come to the East Tennessee Fishing Show and Expo, man, you are making a huge mistake.
You definitely are.
It's a show.
They do a great job, put on a great show, a lot of great people there, some interesting product. Excuse me, I don't know what happened here. Product. And guys, for you guys who love crankbaits, spinner baits, jigs, handmade, handcrafted, hand-tied, hand-painted, you are going to see it in Knoxville, Tennessee, because they got it all. So, I mean,
that's right. East Tennessee is a big crankbait area, and there are a ton of handmade balsa and just crankbait guys that are probably some of the best in the country at building and painting crankbaits.
So go ahead now, 2025. The date will be announced really soon. It's always usually around the same time anyway.
About the last week, most of the time, last weekend or so of January.
Yeah, January. So go ahead, book it now. Book your room. My boy Jacob got us an awesome Airbnb. We were up there behind Bucky's.
Mm-hmm.
And Danielle found a coffee shop, Dutch Brothers. She got married at out there. I mean, she found out there in out west. But yeah, so we hung out there and had a great time and hit a bunch of stuff and just enjoyed a little mini vacation on top of that. Because guys, like Geek was saying, it's time to get back to work and it's time to get back on the road. I will be at Augusta this weekend for the Augusta Fishing Expo. Our guest as well will be there. I just found out today, so he's going to be there hanging out. I'm going to be hanging out also with Journey Outdoors, and the American Anglers Outdoors. If you guys already know, we teamed up with them about a week ago. If you guys have Roku TV or Amazon Fire TV, or you really ain't got to have either one, just download the Roku. Okay, so I don't know much about that. I'm not a TV person. I'm a YouTube person. I don't watch a lot of TV. And you got to download the Roku TV app and then go look up the American Angler Outdoors. And then I think you download that and it goes in your little channel finder. And he's adding more and more shows. I think he uploaded 2 more of our episodes, which will be live by the time this goes live. So a lot of great things are happening here at the Basscast Radio. So Basscast Radio, guys, all your podcasting, wherever you guys listen to podcasts, YouTube, Basscast Radio, and now TAAO.live. That's it. TAAO.live. You can go there, and that's where the website is located. You can learn more about American Angler Outdoors and be a part of Basscast Radio. I'll be hanging out that booth as well. So really excited about that. I'll have stickers, all that great stuff. So come by and say hi. Tonight, guys, got a really cool guest. We're going to do an interesting show, something we've never really done before. We're going to have a discussion with Thomas from Fishing the DMV. And we're going to talk about all the stuff that's been happening in the world of Major League Fishing, Bassmaster, radio, you name it. We're just going to have a conversation about it. About an hour here, guys, as always. And we're going to bring Thomas in and get the ball started. So right back with Thomas from Fishing the DMV. All right, guys, Thomas with Fishing the DMV. Welcome to the show, guys. You guys all know, hopefully you know, I've been on his show twice so far and really appreciate that. Sat down with you and we just talked the smack at the end of the year last year. And it was the end of the year show. And then we did a little 10 or 15-minute talk in Richmond at the Richmond show. So that was a very busy show for Thomas because he had lots of guests on that day. And I think, what did you end up like a 2-hour run time or something by the time that whole thing was done? Have you broken it all up yet? Because I bet you got about 50 parts to it.
Yeah, we have 16 hours of footage from the Richmond Expo.
Shoot.
All said and gone, just from how much we live streamed that thing. My voice was shot on Monday from talking.
I bet it was. So for people that don't know you, introduce yourself and let's dive into the Fishing the DMV and why you decided to get in podcast world.
I mean, pretty straightforward. About 4 or 5 years ago when I finished college, I guess we have to go way back. I fished in high school. I fished in college. When I got done with that, I didn't know what I really wanted to do in the fishing world. So I kind of just took a back seat, went to school again, got my MBA, and I was listening to, I think they're listening to the Junkies, who are up here. They're a radio show up in the DC area. And I think it was a Tuesday, and they were bitching about the Redskins. And I was just thinking to myself, it's like, if somebody's going to bitch about the Redskins defense again, I bet people would want to talk about the Potomac River every week because it's passion. It's not hate, it's passion.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I thought this idea of a local show that just tailored to just the area, not necessarily the professionals, but just the people that fish here all the time. And that's kind of where the DMV logo came from. Is, if you guys don't know, the lingo for Northern Virginia, Maryland, DC is the DMV, which is DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
Right.
And it's not necessarily the waters, it's the people that live there, because we're the most transient area besides maybe like Los Angeles. And
That's
we
true.
drive a ton for tournaments. I mean, if you live in Northern Virginia, you got Smith Mountain Lake on your schedule, you got Kerr. Some people will go to Red Rocks. I don't know why you would. That's like a 15-hour drive. It's insane. And that's considered part of your division versus Alabama or South Carolina. Like what? You walk to each event. It's insane. You don't have to spend anything on gas.
Yeah.
And so we're willing to travel for good fishing. So it's kind of like that whole area and the people that live there.
Guys, the cool thing about Thomas's show, though, he talks about everything. If it's a fish, Thomas talks about it. He has some amazing guests on there. I know you do 2 lake reports. I know one on Potomac, and I know you do one on Smith Mountain Lake. So, I mean, biologist. I mean, Thomas dives into a lot of great topics, and that's what we're going to do tonight: is dive into a lot of great topics that are kind of shaping the world of bass fishing right now. I'm going to start with the first one, and that was this past weekend. And you guys all, I've seen, man, I don't know, I've seen 3 videos. One guy was cussing, one guy was kissing, and another guy was okay with it. So you can only know which one was in love still with Major League Fishing. But it was talking about no live on day number 1 and day number 2, and we're guys. I did a podcast with Ike and Nelly right when this thing happened. I mean, like right after it, and how excited they were about watching bass fishing. I mean, you'll be able to watch it on YouTube, or now it's Discovery, it's CBS Sports when they edit it and air it later. But that was their whole thing. And a business that's built on catch and release and 24-hour streaming. Day number 1 and day number 2, Group A, Group B, had no live stream. We saw nothing. And I actually didn't know it was live because I was at work, and all of a sudden I got a message like, WTF, I can't watch bass fishing.
Yep.
So, it's just kind of weird that the first, and that was kind of what was brought to me as well. Major League Fishing was the first big tournament of the year. I mean, you had an open, but this was the first big event after all the fiasco that they had during the off season. You're going to start 2024 like this.
In 5 to 10 years, they're going to be having business classes on how not to run a business with what they've done. Their ability to shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, we mentioned the Redskins earlier. They can snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. They just can. And it sucks because I felt like on my show, when we end up talking a little bit, I have to defend them because like there are some ideas that aren't bad. It's just piss poor execution constantly. And
it is.
Yeah.
And it's so far away from what Major League Fishing started as.
Yes.
Everything that was good about the cups, they've screwed up on the tour, in my opinion. It was the smaller boats, very relative to the average guy. The average guy's buying 18 and 19-foot bass boats. Mm-hmm. Most of them aren't affording brand new $100,000+ boats. It was every fish counts, and that's fine. It with a one pound limit or 12-inch limit, but that's what it's like. How many times do we go? Weekend warriors truly go, and I'm talking about true weekend warriors like myself. We go out, and if we're catching 10, 12 inchers, we're happy, because I'm not on the lake 3 and 4 days a week. So these guys are going with no information, not even in their own boat, 0 practice, and they have to compete right off the bat. And what did they do when they did the tour? You get 3 days of practice. The tournament's 42 days long. You get to bring your own boats, and we're still going to keep it 12 inches. Hey, that's cool.
I think there are some things that was sponsor based. I think keeping their own boats was definitely the sponsors being like, you're going to allow the 21 footers, right? Okay. Because the Icon's coming down the path and it's 200,000 and we're not making that in a 15 footer. So but again, like an interesting idea is splitting the field. Like if you want to have tournaments on smaller lakes, like I think they put North Carolina on the map, you have to be able to split the field down. That's kind of ingenious. I didn't even think of that until they did. Let's flip flop it. But then let's go to Lake Hartwell and let's go to all. So you just you took the cool thing and then you're going to go everywhere else. And I think it's this weird redheaded stepchild syndrome that they have to be Bass. Instead of just being, if you want to be Chick-fil-A, be Chick-fil-A. You don't have to be McDonald's. Don't chase somebody else's people. And ever since they became into being, they want to be Bass for some reason. That's their MO.
I like your little Chick-fil-A thing there. And, we always see that in that industry that, someone come out the great hot, we had that whole string. I love food, guys. So we had that whole string about a year ago, a couple of years ago, where everybody came out with the Nashville hot chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
Just make what you have better. Don't try to be like just like you said, Thomas, don't be like someone else. Just make your McDonald's hamburger that now makes me sick. Make it better. Don't screw up the Whopper like you did the Burger King when they took half the ingredients away. I go to a fast food restaurant. I go to Major League Fishing because I want to see live 24 hours a day. And then I like seeing the every fish counts format media, and I'm not saying me myself, but I'm talking about the people who like that part of fishing, that love that themselves. But we go there to see that and don't screw it up. And that's what's going to happen. I mean, you don't really know what the hell's going on any year, anytime.
And it really, the canary in the coal mine was back 2019, I think it was 2019 when they bought FLW.
Right.
And they decided not to honor anything from all the people that won all the events. And it's like that you just ticked off God knows how many anglers. And I think at the time, Matt Painrack, he won something on a lake in Kentucky, if I'm remembering it correctly. The name escapes me. And then he got on a show talking about that he got snuffed out of a lot of winning potential there because of their decision. Pay the money. It's such a PR thing that you could do to fix it. It's so many little things like that. It's a death by 1,000 cuts that leads up to, we're going to adjust the field. We're not going to adjust the field. We're going to just on the last minute say we're not going to have live the first 2 days. It's so fly by your seat of your pants.
So someone said that they had dropped the video regarding that, and there was no press release, because I read all the press releases, and there were no press releases regarding no live on the first 2 days that I saw. And I heard Dustin Connell had posted something regarding the new rules in like one of his earlier videos, and what was going on. But I'll be honest, I didn't have a chance to watch it myself, but
I think they did their little podcast live or whatever it was that they do, him and Wheeler and Mark Daniels. And I think they had talked about it because I know that's how a lot of people found out about it, was they had spoke about it on there. And he was like, well, I like that we're not going to do the live because, the locals will get out there and fish. Me, like, I really don't care what the anglers want. Okay. I'm looking at it from strictly an entertainment value. The one opinion that 90% of the time I don't care about is the anglers. You know why? Because it's the same reason why we've talked about it 100 times.
Yes.
I liked the COVID years. I liked that they were fishing the toughest part of the year.
Yes.
If you're a pro,
yes.
I don't want to see you fish pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn every stinking year. It's why we start in Florida and we end in New York, or you chase the easiest bites. And I get it. It looks good. It's big. But you know what? You're a pro. You're the best in the daggone world. Show me what I can't do. Because I can go do that. I promise you. I can go do that. I can go do it tomorrow.
I think they're running out of money, honestly. I think that's the
guilt. But it's Bass too, though. They both have that schedule,
But I agree with you on that part, though, Thomas, about the running out of money part.
Yes.
Because, with big name being fired last year, and just changing things up.
Quietly getting rid of live coverage for 2 days. Because I wonder how much money that saved them by not having to do it for 2 days.
Well, I know when NPFL had their issues, that was one thing that they were having issues with. Now, they have signed that deal. NPFL signed that deal with that TV company that they're working with.
Yeah.
And that was pretty that was pretty awesome. That was some great footage from the NPFL last weekend. I mean, I actually messaged them directly and told them it was great. They had cameras on their top 5 anglers, I believe, or top 5, and then you could listen to Fat Cat and Luke Duncan on another channel. So it was a great event by them, and especially for them. I mean, I think they're just waiting for Major League Fishing to fall. I mean,
They're
just
smart. Going
yeah.
back to the food analogy, they're like, we're just going to do our own thing. We're going to
yes,
serve what we serve, and you
Yeah.
like it or not. We're not going to fight bass. We're not going to get into that contest. And they're just growing. They're just, and I believe you guys might know, or maybe the chat can help us out in the comment section. Were they the first ones to incorporate forward-facing sonar with their live streaming?
yes,
I believe they
Well,
were brilliant.
now I think Bass did it, but it was through Humminbird because
right.
Humminbird is a huge. So it'd only be like Brandon Polinick or the guys with
Mhm.
Humminbird. Now these guys do it no matter what. So
That's
as
brilliant.
a wide range, yeah, they do it no matter what. And that's one of their big selling points that they've come into this year. Now I wasn't too sure about the whole kind of streaming, smart TV, deal that they've got, but I really, this past weekend was the first weekend that I got to watch it. And yeah, I agree, man. It was impressive. I really liked what they're doing.
And what they did was the perfect middle ground. If you look at like in Major League Fishing, about they're too aggressive and trying too many new things. And bass is like baseball. They've been around for 400 years and they'll never change. They
Mhm.
just did just enough of like, let's try a couple of new things here. Because again, bass could have tried all this stuff 500 years ago and they
Yeah.
didn't. And
Yeah.
they had the ability to take everyone's lunch money and they chose not to. And
Because they were it. I mean, that was
I
it.
agree. I've
Yeah.
said 100 times, whether you love, like, hate the MLF, there was a reason there was an exodus from bass. And
2018.
Bass had made a lot of promises. Oh, next year, 10 years from now, we're going to do it. We swear. And they never did.
Mm-hmm.
And the MLF made those same promises and kind of come through with it the first year and then was like, oh, geez, we can't afford to do this.
Yeah.
They also went through ownership there because I remember
Mhm.
Bass in I think it was about 2 years after I started this. It'd be about 2012. Bass was sold, and that was in the group that bought Bass. I mean, I don't think they were an older group, and I don't think they really wanted to change a whole lot. And even to today, they're still set up where it's let's not touch it.
I think they took the wrong lessons from the split, and it was let's dig in even more, and we can we can take our fan base and we can polarize the shit out of this, and we can keep what we have versus being like we should probably listen to our customers and make adjustments. Nope.
Right.
And it just you just traded the FLW for MLF is all you did, and so we're right back again to where we were.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. And maybe there is no solution to it.
Yeah, to be honest, I wonder back and thinking back about it now, I wonder if Bass really did not think Major League Fishing was going to buy FLW. You know what I'm saying? It's like one of the things where it's like, nah, they ain't gonna do that. No, that ain't gonna happen. Then all of a sudden, Major League Fishing buys FLW.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't know why, because I remember listening all the time when that was happening. It's like, who's backing them, right? Everyone keeps saying like they don't have a farm system, right? What that made the most sense was just buy the farm system.
Yeah. Yes. Oh yeah, 100%.
Yes.
I mean, and they had the money to do it, and yeah, they did. And I just God, that was so spicy when that whole deal went through. I still remember that, like, and how much people were in uproar because of that big shift, and everyone was going to quit fishing and all this other stuff. And Bass, I think the Bass Opens probably had their best 2 years, I think, after that, with everyone migrating over.
Yeah. In other news, guys, and I hadn't brought this out, but I saw Eric Church and Morgan Wallen purchased Field and Stream.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And that happened. That happened the end of the year as well, when there's a bunch of other stuff went down. But yeah, so the iconic brand of Field and Stream is under new ownership, young people, which is awesome. And hopefully they will return it back to where it was. They bought all the stores. They're going to turn them into like some country music / bass fishing stores. And they're going to have concerts, and they bought the magazine as well as the online magazine. They bought the whole entire thing. And hopefully maybe by, I say fall, it takes a while for new ownership to, get in and start dabbling with changes. So really excited about that and seeing what's going on there. You guys also saw the press release that we put out yesterday about Toby Keith and his passing and Lucky Strike. And that was actually passed on by me by one of my writers that he had just bought that last year as well.
Yep.
So I mean, it's a lot of stuff happening in the world, and it's, we can talk about this really quick. It's a lot of people that aren't in the fishing world that just love fishing that are starting to buy some of these companies, as we're seeing right here.
I was going to say, because this kind of, I think our last conversation was about what's going to happen with the Hobies, and then will boat companies ever buy a kayak? And
Right.
a boat company decided we'll just buy their motor. Are we going to get to the point where we're just going to see monopolies? We're going to see these big equity firms coming in, and it's just slowly going to be merged under one roof? Because my gut tells me we're going that way. And is that good or bad?
It's bad.
It's bad.
It's very, it is so bad.
I mean,
it's so bad. It's bad because it's going to suck up all the advertising dollars out there. And you're only, all these people, guys, that you see wearing these jerseys at all these tournaments are going to have to put mom and dad's farm back on it like it did 25 years ago when Bass started.
It's just making the fishing industry, which is small, smaller. It's really making it smaller.
I think it's the silent death that no one's talking about. We're all talking about forward-facing sonar and Randy Blockett and things like that, and not that slowly but surely it's just shrinking and getting tighter. And the pros are going to feel it too. Everyone's going to feel it, especially if you're trying to make a living in this sport. That's what if you guys don't know, that's what a monopoly will do. Is you don't need as many pro staff. You just don't.
Nope. And think about the top websites that are out there now that cover Major League Fishing. Wired Fish, it was bought years ago. Bass Fan, it was bought years ago. I know me and Bass 365 are still independent. I don't even have an investor. It's just me. And there's a couple other smaller websites out there that are independent, but for the most part, the larger websites that have any, a lot of traffic have all been purchased. I mean, they're all underneath a football brand or sports brand or baseball brand or any other brand. And, just another way, because that's how the Google ads and Google AdSense and all the other crazy thing works. I mean, that's how we all get paid now, because the industry, like we're saying, has gotten so tight that thank you, Jesus, for Google ads.
Well,
sorry, not sorry, people. I know you guys hate them, but sorry.
Well, I'm working my very hardest at trying to, do this full time, the whole YouTube thing. And, it's the time of year when we're out and we're meeting a lot of new companies. And I can tell you, I got a call, I'm not going to say who, but they sponsor some of the biggest names. Now, I'm not saying winningest, or we're talking about true
you talking names. Content creators, pro fishermen, both
pro anglers. And, it used to be, well, we don't get a real return from those, say, mid-tier lower guys. And, I hate to say that, but it is what it is, right? You're a business. But these were some of the biggest anglers. And I'm not going to name drop, but I was like, really? And a couple of them are doing the content creator thing. And they're like, we're not really getting that much return out of those guys. And, it's, he was like, we'd like to kind of talk to you about it. And I was like, okay, I know, I'll sell them for you.
I mean,
it's a dog eat dog world, man. And,
it's crazy. And I understand it, you guys all know this. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of the brands, I mean, if I sign a contract with Bass Geek and I've got this lure over here and I'm promoting it with Geek, if Geek don't use it, he's going to at least have a few of them with him and have them, talk about them. But I've seen videos shot, and I've shot videos with anglers that had to go back and ask the company, can you tell me something about this product so I can shoot this video?
Wow.
And I swear to God, I was there. I'm not lying, tell the truth. I was there.
That just shows you, that's when we go back to it shrinking, it to me, what that statement told me was that the dollars into bass fishing are shrinking completely, you know.
It's a weird sport compared to, let's say, football. I
Yeah.
mean, name the best running back. How long was his career? Versus Rick Clunn is 200 and he's still going.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm bringing that up is if you look at like an Edwin Evers or Skeet Reese, and they have top dollar from whatever company. And if you're going for 10, 20, 30 years, your value only goes up. It doesn't go down. And
Yeah.
so that sucks it up from everybody else.
It does.
Yeah.
And accompanying that with this contraction that's going on where you're having less companies, they're all coming together. It's not a good place for anyone. And then the other thing I'm noticing is companies are now being like, you have to fish everything that we have. You know, if you were with Sunline, sorry, you got to fish our line. So now we're becoming NASCAR basically.
Yeah.
What we're going to be in 10 years.
And that's my analogy for about everything now. And I just saw a whole entire press release on NASCAR last week about how their ratings sucked last year and how they're trying to figure out how to put their ratings back on the map and put their brand back together. And I mean, they start off the year right, few fights, and that's what everybody wants to see. But there you go.
NASCAR was for the people, though. It was blue collar thing, and
it was the guys who worked a 9-to-5 job who could make, that would spend their hard-earned money, and at the time for $50, maybe 100 at the most, could almost take a whole family go watch a race back then. Can't anymore, but I mean, that was the whole thing about NASCAR. So, and that was the whole thing about fishing.
And anything like perception's reality. That's always it. Perception's reality. And in NASCAR, the perception switched to like, it's a couple of rich families that get you into this expensive car to go in circles a bunch. And then fishing, when you have $60,000 in grass in the front of your boat, you don't need to know anything about fishing. But when you look at some of these guys that have 4 graphs at the front, that's expensive.
Yes.
And I'm not saying live scope is bad, but the optics are getting to be real bad. It's not just any man's sport anymore. And
no.
Once you lose that, it takes a long time to get that trust back with your audience.
Yeah.
And so many people, I mean, I talk to a lot of guys because I'm in the tournament side of it. And I've spoken to a lot of guys that used to fish with me in the past. And they said the graphics cost more than their boat. So they just said, we'll just pleasure fish and hang out with our buddy and go catch a few bass and not worry about it no more. And they're done with tournament fishing. And you kind of wonder, and this is also for new people coming into the sport. It's going to be this whole entire thing where you got to have even a G3, 18-foot, $40,000, another 20 in electronics. I mean, you got to have $60,000 to even start before you get going.
And who owns the debt? And we talked about this when you were on my show, like
BB&T.
you buy that nice IKEA Icon boat. For a deal of like only 120,000. Great, but you don't buy it, and then the next guy gets that note, and then the next guy gets that note. It's all fake. It's all papers floating around the ether. And I've always been worried.
Just trading.
When is it going to pop?
Yep.
Like, especially when things keep going up and up and up. And I look at there are more pros that are having a hard time selling their boats, but the prices keep going up. It's just, I don't know, man. It's weird right now where this is going.
It really is.
Happy thoughts.
Happy thoughts. All right, Thomas, you had a couple of questions. Couple of thoughts that we were going to talk about tonight as well. So, topics.
Yeah, one of the interesting ones was from Dustin, and getting back to the MLF thing was he talked about how he really won when it was back to every fish counts, and then when they went to 5 fish for like 3 weeks or whatever, I think it was like a year.
Yeah,
he struggled, and then they flipped back, and then boom, he's back in the winner's circle. Would you compare the two? And this is, I guess, for anyone, like, would that be like American League versus National League Baseball, where you have the DH? They're both fishing, but it's a little bit different rules, or they are completely different sports? Because to me, a Jacob Wheeler who's like, you do every fish or 5 fish, I'm going to kick your butt.
Yeah.
That to me is way more impressive than a guy that's only good at one or the other.
I will say first, it's 2 different sports, because that was the cool thing about last year. We saw a lot of different winners in 2023 that we had not seen that were good at catching 5 fish. Mike McClelland came on. I think he's fishing the opens this year because he's coming back into bass because he didn't do very good. but he enjoyed the five fish. That was his thing. And he did pretty good last year. He didn't do great, but it is two different. It's two different sports. 2-pounders all day or five fish. It's got to weigh at least 5 pounds apiece.
I have to go American League, National League. I think it's the same sport, but I think it's two different. Listen, I'm a big fish guy, right? Not a more fish guy. I've always struggled to put limits in the boat, but I'm the guy that's always catching the kicker. So I might fish all day. I'm the guy catching the 5, and my partner he's rounded the limit out for us, right? And so for me, the 5 fish, being able to catch the bigger fish, target those bigger fish. That's just more who I am, because I'm a power fishing angler. That's just what I like to do. I like to throw big baits. I like to do it a lot. And, I think to catch more, you're gonna whip out the egg beaters, right? You're throwing the old spinning rods and that sort of stuff. And I think just being around numbers of fish, being able to catch those numbers, I really do think it's something totally different.
A hot take here. I think there's way more luck involved in five fish, and I think there's more
Mhm.
pure competition value. And even if you set, and they did this, where it's not just like a 4-ounce fish that counts; it has to be over a
Yeah.
pound.
Yeah.
Right.
Set it to 2 or 3.
I think it was 2 this past tournament.
Yeah.
Way more skill to be able, because again, it's like a home run hitter versus a guy that can bat for an average.
Yeah.
Some people are really good at just swinging for the fence 5 times and then they
Yeah.
sit on it, versus you got to keep the hammer down. And I think that mindset difference is so interesting to watch those guys, that they got to keep pushing.
It's just Cecil Fielder of baseball, because Cecil Fielder, he was known for that, guys. He was either a home run hitter or he struck out. Either way, I mean,
and that's exactly what I was going to say. Most home run hitters lead the league in strikeouts too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So,
you guys saw, I think Dustin found that I was watching some of his videos over the weekend, and actually Monday, I think, and he found that spot during practice where he caught a lot of them fish. I mean, it was, and he was just catching one right after the other, and just found a good school and a good spot. So I mean, it comes down to that whole, and now, I know they share spots, and, we all know Jacob and Dustin are real tight and real good friends. I mean, been friends for a long time. And, both have won pretty much everything you think of in Major League Fishing. But, it's just finding the right spot for the 112 pounds that he came out with in that event. I mean, you guys, he almost doubled second place.
Yeah.
The one thing to people that don't like every fish counts, because I watch bass probably just as much as Major League Fishing. When you do some of these things where it's like you're catching like a fish every 2 minutes for 8 hours, my God, that is still impressive. When Justin Lucas, I think it was up Winyah, I think it was Winyah. No, it's not Winyah Bay. He's up in Green Bay, I think it was. And he caught like 300 pounds of smallmouth in a day or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you can't be impressed by that, then you just have
an
axe to grind. That was insane. That's catch, Pullman way, cast, catch, Pullman way. That was stupid.
I'd be extremely tired at the end of that day. Let's just say that daggone much.
That's why you see when those guys go up north, though, they've got duct tape around their fingers because they're bleeding.
That is crazy.
But, I'm with you. Listen, I like both formats. My honest opinion is we'll have to go. I think you have to go if you're truly a conservation sport. You're about protecting you're about protecting the bass. I think you have to go to catch, weigh, release. And there was what was it? The tournament that Bass put on a few years ago, that was the hybrid where you get to bring in your largest. So you didn't weigh it.
That's the Texas Bass.
Texas
Fest.
Texas Fest is what it was called. Yeah.
So so maybe that really kind of hybrid situation kind of gives you the best of both worlds, where you bring in that big fish and you get to weigh it in at the end, and you weigh and release everything else. Maybe that's what we're looking for. But
another,
I don't know.
There was, me and Geek had spoken to a lot of guys from the Wild Wild West Bass Series when it was still in business, and that was pretty freaking cool because they did inches as well as pounds,
Yeah.
and you could qualify both ways. So they open it up to whether you could say, I want to bring in 5 fish or I want to bring in 90 inches.
Well,
And you catch, release, put them on the bump board and throw them back in the lake. So it's pretty cool having that option of the kayak inches.
and here's Pandora's box. I mean, you and I broke this story a couple weeks ago. The Army Corps of Engineers in Pennsylvania, they shut down tournament fishing between Memorial Day and Labor Day on Raystown, and now Marsh, which is their
Yes.
first biggest lake and their second.
Mm-hmm.
This is a government precedence that was set, and then people are like, "Well, what does this mean?" It doesn't mean anything. They should shut it down. But okay, think of it this way: I'm on the board for black bass in Maryland, so we get to make policies for the state of Maryland. And one issue that they're already talking about is like all the PA anglers that are now having to drive to the Potomac because they can't have tournaments.
Wow.
And now what you're doing is you're putting more pressure on the other states. So what is going to happen? Then they're going to complain there's too much pressure. And then they're going to have to create rules. It's a domino effect that I don't think people appreciate until it shows up at their doorstep.
Yeah.
It's true.
And that would probably affect bass more than Major League Fishing if they're around by that time. Because if some rule like that went in, they're in the driver's seat right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. The one thing I did want to bring up was that college crash that happened on Murray.
Yes.
I don't get a chance to talk about this on the show a lot, but as an athlete that got to play baseball, got to do a little bit of college and high school fishing as well, I've always felt like the way colleges approach or how they treat student athletes as a commodity, a crop, and you see this in college football too. And you look at the way fishing has targeted high school and college anglers and some of the absolute lunacy in boat turnouts for some of these things, like on Kentucky Lake, where it's just, you would never have a professional event with that many boats.
No.
How many people are going to have to die before they take note and do something?
We had Liberty University on last weekend, and I think that system is really messed up. And we learned last week, Geek, you can tell them here, we learned that, they get more points by having more anglers on the water for their school.
Yeah.
And, in my head, I'm like, why do you really need that many people? I'm thinking about, why don't you guys have a little fish off yourself?
Money. It's team of the year, points.
Yeah. Why don't you guys have a little fish off or something in your neighborhood, or say, okay, I'm better at this lake because of my skill and what I like to do, and send your 2 people from each school, and you would probably cut the field in half.
Mm-hmm.
But because they have more boats, because Liberty said they never win points because they don't have enough anglers to fish their club. So they're not even worried about that. So they're more worried about, going to the championship and winning the championship than they are winning the points. And they're kind of encouraging it, to be honest.
Yeah. Because it's a drug dealer giving out samples. They're trying to get them hooked young. They're trying to make them. I mean, even when I fished, when I fished back in the day, you had the Cabela's series, you had FLW, and it was only like regional based. It was you had your region, then you had your regional championship, then you got to go to their version of the cup. But the way they would flaunt and just make you feel special and give you out everything and be like, this is easy to do, and it was how they tried to hook the next generation, because they know the young angler is the one that can take on the debt,
right?
And you got to get them hooked on that boat, and
got plenty of years to pay it off.
Yep, exactly. And the problem is, when you look at these absurd amount of boats on these lakes, and do these people do they force the colleges to make sure that they know how to like handle the boat? They like, again, it's just the liability, I'm saying, to go up and up and up. And then you look at it and there's not a lot of articles written on this thing, especially by bass. It's just swept under the rug because it's just, it's almost like a workplace accident. They just don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, for you guys who don't know, it was a foggy morning when they let everybody go.
But again, with
kids. It's kids, college kids, and they blamed it on fog. And I'll be honest, I don't even let adults go. If I can't see across the lake, where I'm at, we fish out of a cove. And if I can't see to the other side where the townhouses, you're not going, because you make a sharp right as soon as you come out of the cove, and I'm not letting you go. So I really, I wasn't there. We weren't there at all. We're just, bringing it up and talking about the topic. But like you guys said, I don't understand why, you have the 4 events, get 8 kids on a club, 10 kids on a club, and you're make it where you can only send maybe, let's say 1, maybe 2 boats at the most per club to an event, and cap it at that. And like I said, a lot safer and a lot fewer boats on the water. And I don't know if they just don't think about that part as well. They don't really. There's more boats on the water than just them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's
Yeah.
people out there pleasure fishing. There's people out there. I mean, my God, pontoons and crap up and down Smith Mountain Lake.
And,
I mean,
and we're not fishing in a stadium. We don't have a
No.
pond built, in the middle of the stadium. It's public waters. And, I think all of us agree we love the high school and we love the college, what they're doing with it. At least I do. But I think there's a lot of stuff that needs to be changed. Why aren't we breaking it up into regions or conferences like in most sports? And that way you can lower the field, run these tournaments in those areas and qualify that way. And get some of these tournament size of these entries down. I don't know. I'm not a fan of the NCAA, so I don't want them stepping in. But I think some sort of true governance. Some sort of true governance.
They need governance because they're going to run it. Because unlike football, which believe it or not is pretty healthy, you can easily die. Like we saw, because you're taking 18 to 21-year-olds and they're giving them a 250 and just saying go out there. And I thought it was funny when the Toyota series had that individual tragically pass away on Lake Okeechobee a couple years ago because the weather was bad. Then everyone was on the podcast circuit. Everyone's like, we got to do better to keep our anglers safe. And it's like this time it's like, some fog. Oh well, next event. It's a completely different tone deaf way they're treating.
Yeah. So I guess to say we all agree on this one right here. Something needs to be done about the number of anglers out there at a tournament, and they need to come up with a better way to make it safer for a lot of the anglers. And we haven't heard anything about it because that they sign a waiver, but we don't really know how far the waiver goes. Will the tournament director be sued? Because they did let them go in a fog, in the fog, or like I said, I don't know. I wasn't there. I've watched a few videos on it on YouTube and some few reels and all that stuff because it's 2024 and cameras everywhere. But I mean, what could really happen in the end with this death, regarding this young man. So we'll see how that all shakes up. Guys, we're about ready to wrap this bad boy up tonight, but before we do, we're gonna talk about Mr. Scott Martin over the weekend, guys. On his home body of water, crushed the field. He broke a lot of records. He done something his dad ain't never done, so that was pretty freaking cool. Had the whole family with him there, and it was a great event for Mr. Scott Martin. And I think it was they kind of everybody, they knocked it out of the park this past weekend. I mean, Major League Fishing had a great weekend. Please, I ain't gonna take that away from anybody. And that young man that won, that was pretty freaking cool as well. I mean, well, I don't know how old the guy is. We're gonna get him on the show, but taking home $100,000 in PFL event, and I think he's under 25. So I mean, it's pretty awesome there. But yeah, Scott Martin, man.
I was also impressed with the live streaming capability because Lake Okeechobee used to be like a void. It was really hard to get service there. So all in all, I was impressed with that. And just that I'm glad to see the lake. Is it back? No, but I think it's on the uptick. I know they have a lot of water conditions and issues with pesticide spraying, but Okeechobee is one of those places. It has to be good just for bass fishing. I have a bunch of friends that just drove down to Florida to have fun, and those places need to be good for fishing to be healthy and to survive. But a wire to wire, I mean, that's a heck of a way to start the season.
Oh yeah, that's it. It was impressive what he did,
and it's good for him. I mean, guys and everybody, you want to talk about some giant bass? I mean, we saw some nice 7-pounders. I mean, 8-pounders. I mean, it was some kicker fish being weighed in. I mean, it was an awesome event. and they did have their coverage was the final day, which they did say that they were going to have coverage during the event. But another great event by Bass and the Bassmaster Open Series, and everybody affiliated with that. But I mean, it was a great event. So I would say for me, I mean, NPFL, Bassmaster Open, and then Major League Fishing. That's how I kind of rank the past weekend. And we had a WON Bass. We had the first California Series event. That WON Bass Tournament Series had an event. High school kids were out, so it was a busy bass weekend. I mean, it was plenty, and it's coming up again this weekend as well, because we have the Toyota Series kicking up. I think the end of the month is the Toyota Series. It's the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals this weekend. At the end of the month, we have the Bassmaster Elites kickoff. So there's going to be a lot of great topics over the few weeks ahead, and a lot of great stuff happening in the world.
It's only going to ramp up.
Yeah. I'm ready. I'm ready for fishing and warm weather.
I'm ready for me to be fishing. I'm tired of going out and shooting videos and talking about fishing. I'm ready to go do it. It's killing me.
We got a month, and then they're at the BFL at Smith. I think it's the Piedmont division that's first, right?
Yeah, I think it is. I have to, for you guys want to know, basscast.com has all the schedules on there for local that I have, except for a couple. I still got to do some work because I got some late. But I try to get everybody on there as much as possible. You guys don't know what goes into putting them schedules on the website. I wish you guys really freaking knew. It takes me probably 30 minutes to an hour to put up one schedule because it's individual posts. And that way you guys see it on the calendar as it goes through the entire year, instead of you guys having to like click on an event and then go see the rest of it. Each one are all in chronological order of how they're done based on if the tournament director doesn't change it and doesn't send me the update. But yeah, there's so much stuff happening over the next few weeks. I mean, like I said, March is jam-packed right here for Central Virginia, as well as we got the Forest Wood. I mean, ain't no Forest Wood Cup. We got the Red Crest, and we've been talking about Forest Wood. And we got the Bassmaster Classic next month as well. So, I mean, it's, man, if you guys are a lover of bass fishing, you're in for it deep over the next few weeks. And then it kind of, the season just kind of, we got this hill. We're on the hill, getting ready to climb it through March. And then we just kind of go down a little bit. And then we just kind of plateau out the rest of the year.
See, this is why I'm such a bad tournament angler, because I'm really good in the summer. It's like it's when they have no tournaments.
I think they should it should be summer, fall, and winter. Like that's remember way back when they were on Cherokee.
Yes,
I think Jacob Wheeler won. Like that
did.
Was like the first legitimate winter tournament.
Yeah.
Yes.
I miss that. I just miss those grinders that are just a little different.
I do too.
And that's why we have the NPFL.
Yeah. They spread it out well.
And they are spreading that thing out real well. And heck, they didn't start in Florida, and they're ending in Florida. So I mean,
that'll be interesting actually.
Yes.
I don't know a lot about that. Florida in the fall.
I'll throw in one thing that we got one last question before we wrap it up. And it really is, we've kind of touched on it a lot. What, because the live coverage is sort of the deal. And you talk about the weigh-ins, the 5 fish weigh-ins and how big they are versus the every fish counts, and you just bring guys up and talk. We know we don't play in stadiums. Where do you see and what do you think is going to be the answer? Because we know this is going to have to be a streaming sport. It's going to have to be an online sport. Where does the coverage? How do we make it better? How do we make it more exciting for the viewer? Because 90% of the time, that's what it's going to be about in this sport. If we're going to grow it, production value has to grow.
It's going to have to be smaller fields.
And that's what Major League Fishing's doing.
I know everybody hates that, but I swear I understand why they're doing that. I agree 100%.
I think it's going to be smaller.
I agree with that too.
I think the other thing is like having this with people, I think is really underrated. When you put a clock on it and you have to fight to get in the bubble, I will watch that all day compared to I can turn on sometimes you can turn on Bass in the morning and be like, he's got a 10-pound lead. It's done versus I wonder if he's going to catch one more fish with 10 seconds left on the clock to get
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
I don't know how they captured that fire, but that's how can you get more of that, please? Because that's riveting.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, we got to wrap it up, but it is a strategy game for all of it. It really is. I mean, like you're saying, you never know, except for this past weekend, Dustin's huge freaking lead. Most of the time, it does come down to a few pounds. It didn't happen this past weekend.
Yeah,
but
well,
I mean,
and everybody complains about that, but I mean, in any sport, there's a 60-0 game, right? In football, there's a 3-lap leader in NASCAR. There's always going to be the blowout.
But in every sport but bass, the score.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing the biggest thing that frustrates. If you want 5 fish, that's fine. Why can't you let people know what's going on so they can make adjustments? Because the thing I like the most about the MLF show or everything is like, you suck today. You haven't caught one. What are you going to do? This is what's happening on the board. Or you're really good at punching and you haven't gotten a bite and your mind turns into put that because they're supposed to be pro athletes. I want to see them make decisions.
Yeah.
And you can't do that if you don't know what's going on. So you're going to throw the jig at that brush pile for 8 hours and be happy and content till you get back.
Yeah,
it's true. Or you run out of time and the event's over.
Or that.
Thomas, dude, appreciate you coming on tonight's show. Thank you for having me on yours. We're gonna do this again because I think we should do it like monthly, to be honest, because there's just so much stuff to talk about and so much happening in the world of bass fishing. And as I spoke on your show, I don't want to see the industry implode, but I'm waiting for the industry to implode. We really are. I mean, it went through COVID. It made it through that barely. And here we are at the end of COVID, 2 years out, all the changes that are taking place. Where's it going to settle? I mean, at the end of the day, who's not going to screw it up the most that will be here in another 5 years? That's where we're looking. I mean, really is. I mean, and who's not going to be bought, and what website's not going to be bought, what TV show, and all the great stuff that we love about bass fishing.
Hot take, I blame YouTube. The reason I blame that is you have a lot of companies that don't know what analytics are, and when they had their AdSense kill 5 or 6 years ago, people that just could be, I have 100,000 subs, 200,000, I could make a living, I don't have to care about sponsors. You could. And now, because they've clamped down so hard, everyone's now fighting for sponsorships.
Yeah.
And it's so weird to see that, where you have guys that I really like to watch that are just content creators, but now they're like, listen, I can't make a living anymore doing this, and I have to go fight in the same dog bowl, so to speak.
We do every day. Yeah. Listen, as big as I am a fan of bass fishing, I compete against those guys for money every day. Yep. Every day. I mean, it's just is what it is. I hate that I have to do it because I love those guys. I love professional angling.
Yeah.
But it's it just is what it is. I mean, I've got 75,000 subscribers, and I do on YouTube alone probably 3 to 4 million views a year. And name me professional anglers that do it. There's about 5%, maybe.
And it sucks because 10 years ago, you had that same sub count, man. You wouldn't have to stress about, I don't need a sponsor. I don't need any of that.
Yeah.
And 100%. Be happy.
Yeah. I'm continuously shaking hands, passing out cards, kissing babies. And I hate it. I'm not going to lie. I hate every ounce of it. So
you lose a little bit of your integrity with your fan base, because authenticity is the currency of the future. It really is. And if all you're worried about, whether you're a fisherman or a content creator, like, is what I do for my fan base and the people that got me here, you'll be way better off than when it's like, how do I get that next paycheck?
Yeah.
So
it's and I'll tell you what, I know YouTubers that take exclusive deals, man, and they get paid well. I just can't do it because it's not what my channel's ever been about. which means I get paid for crap. So they're like, oh, well, you're going to use everybody else and us. Well, okay, we're going to give you a tiny piece of the pie funny. Because you're not just going to beat. But I'm okay with that. It means I get to sign everybody in the industry.
We could have a whole 2-hour conversation about that.
Oh, you don't even want to get me started on this stuff.
All right, everybody. We're going to carry this over to another show, another time, another date. But Thomas, man, appreciate you coming on. Thank you for being a part of tonight's show. And it was a great conversation. Like I said, there's just so much going on in the world of bass fishing right now. And I think it's just going to last. I mean, it's going to last until it all falls down. Yeah. And we'll see what happens at the end of the rope. So
we're being a little negative, Nancy, but it's going to go on. It's gone through these big ups and downs.
It has.
2008 housing recession, ESPN getting rid of bass. It'll
and look, we've got technically at the pro level more competition than we've ever had.
Oh yeah,
and that can't be anything but good in the end. Now, what happens when we Highlander it and only one is remaining? That's when they generally screw it up. And that's when others come along. Again, bass, MLF,
NPFL.
And why do the sponsors let them all fight each other? Because maybe what they want is just one, because it's cheaper for them.
There you go.
It's true.
There you go.
Guys, we'll be right back. All right, guys, man, we hope you enjoyed just a different show here at the Basscast Radio tonight. Just a conversation. It wasn't about, we didn't have no professional anglers on tonight. We had Geek. I mean, he's a professional, but
don't ever say that. I'm a professional YouTuber.
And
a wannabe tournament angler. I'm a wannabe donator.
Come on now. But yeah, so I mean, it was just a different show. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was great. And I think we're going to do some more. We're going to bring Thomas back on. If we do one a quarter, I think it'd be really cool because there's a lot of topics to catch up on and talk about. And, the cool thing about us, we're each in a different part of the industry.
Yeah.
We really are. And
we
really are. And that's what makes there's 3 different real opinions. We're not all YouTubers talking about the industry and how bad it sucks. I mean, we're all, one part tournament, one part YouTube, one part, agricultural and, what's happening right here in the local area.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a lot there. And like I said, we really appreciate Thomas coming on and talking with us tonight. And as you guys heard, I'll be in Fishersville on Saturday for the Augusta Fishing Expo. And it's the Augusta Expo Center. Isn't that what it's called? I mean, it's some simple name. I mean,
I think it's the Augusta Expo Center. I wished that.
And it's right off 81. So, I mean,
I wish I would have come up and stayed with you for the weekend and kind of hit that place because I've been to it one time.
Yeah, it's a great time. I mean, it's nothing huge or nothing, but it's really cool.
I'd like to get back up there.
And we're growing our brand like as always. So, as you guys know, I told you earlier, American sports. You know what? That thing is so freaking long. It's gonna be a tongue twister forever for me for this name, but I'm gonna remember it one freaking day here real close. But me and Alvin would be up there, and with he's got so many ways you can log on to this thing with the American Sports Fishing Academy, whatever he wants to call the thing now. But there's we're gonna be up there. Basscast Radio is on there, and don't forget, follow us as always on YouTube and on any other way that you listen, iTunes, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and many other ways that we have our podcast shows all attached. But guys, we got some guests lined up for you next week, and we're gonna have another great show as always. And Geek, good luck this weekend. Whatever you are involved in
this weekend, you want me to tell you what I'm gonna be involved in? Work. So I'll be at work this weekend, not fishing, which stinks. But it's gonna rain this weekend, so I got an excuse not to be out in the rain. But
there you go.
Hey, but everybody make sure you go out. We're dropping some really good content. We're talking about blades instead of lipless in clear water and why you can fish a certain blade just like you fish a lipless and catch them if you love a blade bite. And then we've got the February top 5, but as I jokingly say, it may be the top 29 for the 29 days of February, by the way, because we talk about 5 baits, but we talk about the multitude of ways to rig them. So go check that out.
Lots of great shows. You guys all have a great weekend. Be safe. Look forward to seeing you guys all this Saturday. This is my last expo for 2024 because we really have 2 weeks off and then we're on the road. I mean, we are gone on the road. So you guys be safe out there. Have a great week and we'll talk to you guys soon.